Star Trek, Voyager's Neelix had one surprising thing in common with Captain Picard, despite being very different characters. Neelix, Ethan Phillips, and Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, from Star Trek, Voyager, and Star Trek, The Next Generation had one surprising thing in common. On the surface, Neelix and Picard seemed completely at odds with each other. Picard was the reserved, human captain of the USS Enterprise D and the main character of Star Trek TNG, while Neelix was Talaxian and played a supporting role in Voyager's cast of characters as the USS Voyager's cook, morale officer, and all-around ambassador to the Delta Quadrant. However, a scene in the opening episode of Voyager Season 5 revealed that Neelix and Captain Jean-Luc Picard both shared a taste for one particular beverage. During the Voyager episode Night, the ship traveled through a completely starless region of space that crew members dubbed the Void. The lack of stars began to have a psychological effect on multiple crew members, including Neelix, who began experiencing panic attacks. During one of these, Neelix ordered his replicator to make him a drink with one very familiar ingredient. Star Trek, Voyager's Neelix likes Earl Grey tea. Just like Captain Picard, the tea Neelix ordered from his replicator was bergamot tea, a surprising Easter egg to Captain Picard's favorite Earl Grey tea on Star Trek TNG. Besides black tea leaves, bergamot extract or oil is the main ingredient in Earl Grey, giving the tea a distinctive citrus flavor. Although it wasn't made clear that the tea Neelix ordered was Earl Grey specifically, bergamot is not usually used on its own to create a beverage. Further, Neelix ordered his tea in a very similar way to Picard's signature Earl Grey hot, telling the replicator, bergamot tea hot. Given how famous Picard's tea order is in the Star Trek franchise, it's very likely that Neelix's line in Night was meant as a direct reference to TNG. Earl Grey tea is also almost certainly the only thing Neelix and Picard have in common as characters, given the differences between their species, jobs, and especially personalities. Small references between shows like this were common practice during Star Trek's 1990s era, but Voyager especially had more than its fair share of TNG nods, both big and small. Voyager referenced TNG more than any other Star Trek show, aside from small references like the Neelix-Picard connection. Voyager was so linked to TNG that it almost became the earlier show's spiritual successor. Voyager and TNG's sister show, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, forged its own path in the franchise with its plot and manner of storytelling, but Voyager was in many ways an attempt to return to TNG's classic style. This manifested in a similar aesthetic between the two shows, but also meant that Voyager picked up and expanded on some crucial storylines TNG had introduced. TNG and Voyager's biggest connections were a deeper exploration of the Borg and the return of Q, John DeLancey, and the Q Continuum. Voyager was the only other show in the franchise to explore either Q or the Borg in depth, with DS9 only briefly referencing both. Voyager took the Borg and Q and expanded what TNG had done in a way that paid tribute, but also gave the franchise more to work with. In this way, Star Trek, Voyager, and TNG were more like sister shows than any other two Star Trek series of the time. When fans think of Star Trek Voyager and compare its characters to those from other Star Trek series, Captain Jean-Luc Picard of Star Trek The Next Generation likely comes to mind as the paragon of a Starfleet officer, intelligent, commanding, and profoundly diplomatic. Picard is revered for his wisdom, calm leadership, and ability to navigate complex political landscapes with finesse. On the other hand, Voyager's Neelix, played by Ethan Phillips, is often remembered as the ship's cheerful, sometimes bumbling cook and morale officer. His eccentric nature, lively personality, and comical moments may make him seem like a far cry from the dignified Captain Picard. However, beneath Neelix's affable and often quirky demeanor lies a surprising parallel to Picard, his role as a skilled diplomat. Though the two characters come from vastly different backgrounds and occupy different roles aboard their respective ships, both Neelix and Picard share an innate talent for fostering alliances and resolving conflict, making them indispensable to their crews and crucial in their missions. Neelix, a diplomat in disguise, Neelix is introduced in the pilot episode of Star Trek Voyager as a self-proclaimed traitor, scavenger, and resourceful survivor in the Delta Quadrant. While he initially joins the crew of the USS Voyager to help them find water and food, his role expands over the course of the series. Soon, Neelix becomes the ship's morale officer, unofficial ambassador, and perhaps most importantly, a mediator between Voyager and the many alien species the crew encounters. Neelix's informal diplomacy is first showcased early in the series when he helps Voyager navigate the dangerous Kazon factions. Neelix's knowledge of the Delta Quadrant's various cultures and political landscapes becomes vital, especially as Voyager is constantly moving through unfamiliar and often hostile territory. His ability to speak multiple languages, understand customs, and negotiate with species that Captain Janeway and her Starfleet officers have never encountered places him in a position similar to that of a diplomat. His skills often prevent confrontations from escalating into violence, a quality that echoes Picard's own methods of leadership. Picard, the quintessential diplomat as captain of the USS Enterprise D, Jean-Luc Picard exemplifies Starfleet's ideal of peaceful exploration and negotiation. In many episodes, Picard finds himself in the middle of delicate political situations, where war or peace hinges on his ability to broker agreements between hostile alien species or handle internal Federation disputes. Whether he's navigating the tense politics of the Klingon Empire, managing Romulan intrigue, or resolving the moral dilemmas of advanced alien civilizations, Picard consistently chooses diplomacy over brute force. Picard's approach to leadership is rooted in patience, intellect, and empathy. He is a master of persuasion, capable of turning enemies into allies and resolving even the most volatile conflicts with words rather than weapons. This talent is central to his character, and it's often Picard's most celebrated trait. The Federation, after all, is built on ideals of peace and cooperation, and Picard stands as a shining example of how diplomacy can be the most powerful tool in space. Neelix and Picard, two faces of diplomacy. While Neelix's approach to diplomacy may not have the same polish or gravitas as Picard's, it is no less effective. Picard's formal Starfleet training and experience make him an excellent negotiator on the galactic stage, while Neelix's street-smart, personable style allows him to connect with people on a more personal level. Both characters share an underlying respect for the people they interact with, which becomes a key part of their success in building relationships. One particularly revealing moment for Neelix comes in the episode Fair Trade, where his past as a trader is explored. Neelix's desire to remain useful to the Voyager crew leads him into a dangerous situation, but the episode underscores his value as someone who can navigate the morally gray areas of the Delta Quadrant. Much like Picard, Neelix shows an ability to think on his feet, mediating disputes and finding creative solutions to complex problems. Even though Neelix's methods are less conventional, they share Picard's fundamental belief in the importance of understanding and respecting other cultures. Neelix's role as an ambassador is further highlighted in episodes like Rise, where his negotiation skills help resolve a conflict between two alien species. His charm and genuine interest in others allow him to diffuse tensions and build trust, often in ways that Starfleet's more formal protocols might not. This flexibility, combined with his deep knowledge of the Delta Quadrant, makes Neelix a uniquely effective diplomat, echoing the role Picard plays for the Federation. Conclusion: diplomacy as a Starfleet virtue. While Neelix and Picard may seem like opposites at first glance, one a seasoned captain, the other a light-hearted morale officer, both characters share a common strength that transcends rank or position: diplomacy. Their ability to bridge cultural divides, foster cooperation, and resolve conflicts makes them essential to their respective crews and missions.